Good evening. I'm Nisa Petrilli.
I'm Jay Kaplan.
I'm Steve Ferguson.
And I'm Sean Roman.
And this is the On the Sportslines Super Bowl Special. Super Bowl 46 is on February 5th, and we're all about it tonight. We'll give you the do's and don'ts for the Giants and Patriots as they get ready for their rematch of Super Bowl 42. You'll also get predictions from us, as well as Fox Sports' Kenny Albert, who'll be calling in to talk about all things NFL, including the Super Bowl. And as always, we want to hear from you, so send your emails to fanspeak@onthesportslines.com. We just may read yours on the show. We'll get to all the Super Bowl analysis in a moment, but first, the passing of a legend. Former Penn State football coach Joe Paterno passed away this past Sunday. Joe Pa, as he was lovingly referred to by Penn State Nation, is the winningest coach in Division I history. He'll be remembered for the triumphs on the field that marked his 62-year career, as well as the failure off the field that ended it. He was 85. Sean, how will you remember Joe Paterno?
Interestingly, when the news came out that Joe Paterno died, and when also the news came out when Joe Paterno was still alive, and then came out again that Joe Paterno died, I was in Pennsylvania. I was visiting relatives who lived there for the weekend. So I got to see the atmosphere of the community that is most beholden to the Joe Paterno legend. And it was in unison. I saw no dissent at all. He is utterly revered.
Yes.
As
Yes, he is.
just a beloved figure. And from what I saw, Joe Paterno lived modestly, and Joe Paterno lived decently, and he lived humbly. If you looked at the house that he gave his press conferences from, this is a guy making multi-million dollars a year, and this is a house that each one of us here and each one of us in this building could aspire to having one day.
Yes.
And that's how Paterno lived. And I can't, at this point, vilify Joe when I don't know the context in which he heard the information he was given. I don't exactly know what he was told, what he didn't do. So I can't castigate him right now when there hasn't been a single allegation proven against anyone related to this matter. That's still developing right now.
True.
So I am holding any vilification of Joe in abeyance for a good long time.
You know, for me, when you watch how many players, former players of Joe Paterno's, love him and just love him unequivocally without even talk of the scandal, that's when you start to feel it as somebody who's watching from the outside, because there's a part of me that wasn't really thrilled hearing about this scandal with his name connected. But then you think about the icon that he has been. He has been not just an icon in sports, but really an icon in America. And you look at all the people, political figures, fans, everybody loves this man. And the sad part is when you look at somebody who's had almost an idyllic life, I mean, and he really did lead it on and off the field, to see how it disintegrated so quickly.
Yes.
That was so shocking. And his passing was just incredible how it all happened in 2.5 months. He went from having probably almost perfect health for somebody 84 years old to, cancer and everything just falling apart in his life. And frankly, I really feel sorry for him and his family. And it's something that we're all going to have to see how the rest of this plays out. But it's a tragic story in terms of what happened to the end of his life.
Yeah. Being our resident numbers guy, of course, the numbers resonate with me. A record
What do you got?
409 wins, more than any Division I coach.
Yes.
37 bowl games, 24 of which ended in victory. 5 undefeated seasons, 2 national championships. But what will remain with me beyond that is the memory of a man who was always there for his players, always there for his coaches, always there for the students, always there for all of Penn State Nation. A man who didn't let the changing times deter him from his grand experiment. Joe Paterno always felt that excellence on the football field and academic integrity could coexist. A coach who sent over 250 players to the NFL and countless more into the world better than they were before coming to Penn State. Guys, I'm going to save the rest of my thoughts on him for my 3-minute warning piece, but I think the words of our friend and colleague James Ferguson sum this up pretty well. Fergie sent me a text the morning when so that Sunday morning when he found out that Paterno had passed. Fergie's a huge Penn State fan. And I quote, "The world has lost a great man, a quiet leader, a man of his word. I can only hope that his methods and the way he conducted his life are the things that will not be forgotten. Rest in peace, Joe Paterno."
Wow.
Amen.
Yes.
Well, the New York Giants haven't done anything the easy way this season, and their 20-17 overtime win against the San Francisco 49ers in the NFC title game wasn't any different. Yet here they are, back in the Super Bowl for the second time in the last 5 years, once again taking on the New England Patriots. Steve, answer this question. The Giants will win the Super Bowl if...
Well, it's pretty elementary for those of us who watch the game, and I know a lot of you are. You've got to get to Tom Brady. And they have the triumvirate to do that, led by Pierre Paul, who is a phenomenal sack master. And then you have, of course, Justin Tuck, thank God, who is back and healthy. And you also have Osi Umenyiora, and they also have a very good set of linebackers beyond that group. So I think that's the huge key right there.
Yeah, defense is really gelling at the perfect time.
It definitely is. Oh, absolutely.
It just came to fruition in that game against the Falcons.
Yeah. Well, now that they're all healthy and they're revved up to go.
It started with the Jets and then the Cowboys and then carried over.
That's
what
true.
happened in that Redskins game, though?
That's a distant memory at this point, hopefully.
What the Giants have
Never
to
to be seen
do,
again.
in my view, is they will have to keep up offensively with the Patriots. And the Patriots are going to come out one or two ways, and we saw which two ways. They put up some big scores quick against Denver, and then Denver, who has a solid defense, wasn't able to get in the game.
Nope.
True.
They also faced a solid defense with the Ravens.
Yes.
Completely different result. Tight game, relatively low scoring. The Giants, if they let up the big play early, like they did against San Francisco, going down 7-0 on an 80-yard catch,
Wow.
they're going to have to keep up. And they have shown a willingness to not go pure conservative Giant football, balancing the run with the pass. They are ready to throw the ball 50, 60 times a game for, I think, the first time institutionally in their history.
Maybe.
They have that type of offense right now.
Yeah.
That is the key for them. They have to keep up with the offensive production of the Patriots.
Well, here's one way they can do that, and I'll answer the question this way. The Giants will win the Super Bowl if they can win third down on both sides of the ball. Now, in the regular season, Eli Manning was the NFL's number 3 rated passer on third down, and coming into the NFC title game, he was doing just fine. 18 of 24 with 16 first downs. Hot start against the Niners, 5 of his first 6, 5 first downs, but then he goes 3 of 11 after that. Yeah, all 3 of those were for first downs, including that touchdown pass to Manningham, which pretty much put the game away. But they have to be more consistent. 7 of 21 overall is not going to cut it, not against a team like the Patriots. No. Now, converting third downs, as we know, is the best way to keep the Patriots off the field and keep pace with them. Flip side, Giants defense completely owned third down. 1 for 13 they held the Niners to, including 0 for their first 12. Now, doing that to the Pats may be a little unrealistic.
Yeah.
The Patriots are talking about. However, the more three and outs that the Giants defense can produce, the fewer chances Brady and company have to score, better chances of the Giants winning.
They've also been able to
No
stay on
question.
the field and keep control of the clock in the playoffs.
That's
That's another thing you have to do.
We got to get to the flip side of that question. Jay, now tell me, the Giants will lose the Super Bowl if what?
Contrary to popular belief, Sean, they will lose if Eli Manning has to throw the ball 58 times again. Okay? Now, he set a Giant postseason record for completions and attempts in that game against the Niners, 32 of 58. But the big reason behind those 58 attempts was the fact that the Giant running game was once again MIA. Okay? 26 carries, 85 yards, not going to cut it. I have said this before. The best way to keep pace with the Patriots is keep them off the field. To do that, you not only have to convert on third down, but you have to win time of possession. And Sean, I think the best way to do that is to have a balanced offense. They need Bradshaw and Jacobs and those guys to step up and put in a performance more like the 172 yards that they put up against Atlanta. If they can't, Eli's going to have to carry them again, and that leaves him open to getting beat up like he did against the Niners.
Yes, he did.
64 dropbacks, 6 sacks, 11 hurries, 19 knockdowns. To me, that makes losing more likely, especially against an offense that can score like the Niners.
Well, for me,
excuse me,
The
like
Pats.
the Patriots.
I was going to say.
Freudian slip, sorry.
Hey, that's all right. And for me, it's definitely Brady. I mean, if you give this man time to throw deep, look at the weapons this guy has. Gronkowski is an absolute beast. There's nobody in the league that I've seen able to stop this guy.
Nope.
Aaron Hernandez is no slouch either on the other side of the ball. And Wes Welker, I mean, this guy catches everything that's thrown to him. So you've got
low balls.
Oh yeah, he's
Picks them up right off.
he's unbelievable. I mean, he stretches your defense totally. So you have those three guys, and you can never forget Deion Branch, because sometimes what they do is they set you up. Everybody's looking for the short passes. All of a sudden, Deion Branch goes down the field,
Does a 9
touchdown.
route.
And that's what the Giants have to be very careful with.
Giants' success from the draft to their Super Bowl winning teams always comes from the inside out, and that comes in having a strong offensive line. It's overlooked, but it's the most important aspect of the game.
You bet.
Parcells always felt you got to build from the inside out.
Yes, you
Sure.
do.
And what happened in the second half of the 49ers game, now, is that attributable to the bad weather, cold North Pacific weather, really rainy, you wasn't... Sometimes stuff
honestly,
like
Sean,
that happens.
I think it had to do with the fact that the more often you have to drop back and pass, the more chances you give a team with a good pass rush to do damage to you, and I think that's what happened.
But you're right, it did seem like a switch was flipped between the first half and the second half.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Eli
terms of
Manning
protection.
was able
Absolutely.
to hold up tremendously well after getting put on the floor about 20 times. He was able to get up. He looked a little disheveled, but his head was always in the game. It was very impressive.
He had his shoulder
And
pad coming out halfway.
Every time he
His helmet was knocked
every
askew.
time he was rushed and he knew he was going to get hit, without even looking, he's developed to the point where he knows exactly where to get the ball.
He certainly
That was
does.
the most
He
impressive
doesn't
aspect
panic
of
anymore
Eli
like
Manning
he
that I
used to.
saw.
He really doesn't.
It's true. Well, they didn't look like the AFC's #1 offense, but by the grace of a missed field goal, the New England Patriots escaped with a 23-20 win over the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC title game. They'll make their 7th trip to the Super Bowl, where once again they'll face the New York Giants. Steve, I'm going to ask you the same question. The Patriots will win the Super Bowl
If they actually have a running game that day. And every now and then it shows up in the form of a guy named Ben Jarvis Green Ellis.
The law firm.
The law firm. This guy, the one stat he has, it's amazing. In the 3 years he's been in the NFL, he has never lost a fumble.
No, that's true.
And although he's not what you'd call a dynamic runner, like, say, Corey Dillon or even Fred Taylor when he was
Guys they've
finishing
had
his
in the
career.
past, yeah.
Yeah, he's a guy that's reliable, dependable. If you want to sneak him in on draw plays, which is something they may do to kind of keep the Giants' pass rush off Brady. So you really have to watch this guy because he may pick up some yardage that will hurt them.
And he's given them an effective option
Yes.
down by the goal line.
Yeah, and he can catch the ball a little bit too if you want to throw a short pass to him.
Or you got Danny Woodhead for that.
Oh, yeah. Another one we all forget. If you're a Jet fan, you want to forget that one.
The Patriots will win the Super Bowl if their defense once again is able to play up to the level of the competition they're facing.
Yep.
In the regular season, despite the fact that they're now on, I think it's a 10-game winning
Yes,
streak.
10-game winning streak.
They gave up about 425 yards per game. That is an absolutely atrocious average that makes you think, how could they go through the year only losing to the Steelers, the Giants, and the Buffalo Bills and win every other game?
Yeah.
But when push came to shove in the playoffs, they're now averaging 325 yards a game given up. So they're able to step up when it counts, and I think that's the experience they have of being in the playoffs every year and winning 3 Super Bowls.
Maybe. I'll tell you what,
think
the
so.
way I answer the question, guys, is the Patriots will win the Super Bowl if they can continue to take advantage of these matchups on offense, and that means specifically getting Gronkowski, Hernandez, and Welker in mismatches. 16 of Tom Brady's 22 completions were in situations where those 3 guys had mismatches against linebackers or safeties. Now, if the Patriots can continue to create and exploit situations where you've got Welker's quickness matched up against a linebacker in the slot or across the middle, or where Hernandez and Gronkowski are matched up against a linebacker in the short zone or a safety deep, or hell, anywhere on the field.
Literally.
The tight ends especially are matchup nightmares. So far in the playoffs, 26 catches, 353 yards, 4 TDs. Against the Giants in that regular season game, 12 catches, 136 yards, and 2 TDs. They put up numbers like that against the Giants again. Chances are good Brady's going to walk home with his 4th ring. I mean, look what Vernon Davis did to the Giants.
Ooh, yeah.
All right.
Well, okay, we're going to go to the flip side now. Sean, tell me, the Patriots will lose the Super Bowl if what?
Well, Gronkowski. If his ankle is not able to hold up, quite simply, the Patriots will be an extremely vulnerable team. Right there, I've experienced in the variety of sports that I play a lot of ankle injuries of that nature, and I have to wear a leather brace now when I play tennis, handball, or soccer. Otherwise, it may give. So what I can tell you is that if Gronkowski is in the game with that type of injury, chances are they're going to go for him for the pass, because as a blocker, he's not going to be that effective.
No.
All the strength in blocking is going to come from that very small part of the body, and it's vulnerable. So if he's in the game, he's going to be able to pick up that 3rd down and long. He's going to be able to run out and pick up that touchdown because of his huge hands and the fact that he's a big frame. But if it's a running play, Gronkowski's probably not even going to be in the game.
And he has not practiced yet this week.
That's interesting.
Well, that's the benefit, as we were talking about before, of having this extra week.
That's right.
Yeah.
Interesting. Exactly. Well, in my case, I'm looking at Eli, and if Eli Manning has time to throw, you know what? His receiving core is getting to the level almost like what the Saints and Packers have.
Or even the level of the receiving core they had in 2007.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the guys, first of all, Victor Cruz is insanely good. I've never seen anybody like this come on the scene who was undrafted and do what he's doing. And you look at Manningham.
Tremendous effort.
Oh, I mean, these guys are unbelievable. And so you look
Hakeem Nicks.
And Hakeem Nicks, a guy that I really liked, and I thought the Giants were very smart drafting him. So you look at what the weapons he has, and also you look at the tight end they have. They have a pretty good one, too, in Ballard.
Ballard's done a really good job
he
of
is
stepping in for
really
Kevin
good.
Boss. You remember I told you I was nervous about them losing Boss.
I could understand why you were. I mean,
Is the
Ballard's
Giants
been really
receiving
good.
core weapons on their own terms, or is Eli making them the weapons they are?
I think it's a little of both. I mean, you look at Victor Cruz. I mean, he's probably next to Deshaun Jackson. He might be the fastest receiver in the league. And you look at Manningham. This guy was an accomplished wide receiver at Michigan. And you look at Nicks, and he was a great player at North Carolina. So Eli has made them all better. But I think they were all good, and now he is the leader now. He's taken over and led these guys.
He's really taken on that leadership role,
Yeah,
too.
he has been phenomenal this season.
I'll tell you guys what, in my mind, the New England Patriots will lose the Super Bowl if, and I will use Tom Brady's own words against him. He said after the title game, I sucked pretty bad out there today.
Yeah.
So, Tom, if you suck pretty bad again, chances are you're going to lose. Here's what it comes down to, guys. Tom Brady had one of his worst days ever as a quarterback in the AFC title game. Less than 250 yards passing, no passing TDs. That snapped a streak. He had gone 18 straight playoff games with a passing TD. A horrible 57.5 passer rating. 2 interceptions that counted and 2 that didn't because of defensive penalties by the Ravens. Okay, he cannot afford a game like that against the Giants, who are not offensively challenged like the Ravens.
That's right.
Okay, now there is talk that the Patriots are not as good as their 13-3 record because, guys, the first winning team that they beat this season was the Ravens in the AFC title game.
Wow.
So a very Brady performance on Super Bowl Sunday will put all that talk to rest. Anything less than the Patriots Super Bowl record against the Giants will move to 0-2.
Yes.
And it's true, though, if you think about all the Patriots' recent losses in the playoffs in the past few years, Brady was pressured and sacked a lot. So any time that the defense can do that to him, it definitely bodes well.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
We
it
shall
does.
see. But to say that 2011 was an interesting year in the NFL would be a ridiculous understatement. To get his thoughts on the season as well as Super Bowl 46, we are happy to welcome back to the show Fox Sports NFL play-by-play man, Kenny Albert. Hi, Kenny.
Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hey, Kenny.
Hey, Kenny.
Doing good. Thanks for calling in tonight. And our guys have some questions for you. Jay, lead off.
Kenny, good to talk to you again, my friend.
You too.
Well, let's see. Kenny, as we've been talking about, and as you've noticed all year, this year has been ruled by quarterbacks like no time in recent memory. 3 have stood out. Brady and Breeze, who both shattered Dan Marino's regular season record for yards in a season, and Aaron Rodgers, who had one of the most ridiculous seasons by a quarterback in recent memory. Who gets your vote for NFL MVP?
Boy, that's a great question, and it was debated a lot down the stretch, and of course the voting is done before the playoffs, so the postseason games do not come into account. I think it'll be either Rodgers or Breeze. I think Rodgers had most people's votes, up until about week 14 or 15 when the Packers were still undefeated, and then Breeze really had a great stretch, over the last couple of weeks and wound up breaking Dan Marino's record for yards in the season. But I would think because of the record that his team finished with, my guess would be Rodgers, but I wouldn't be surprised if it were Breeze.
Well, I got to tell you, Kenny, if Breeze does nose out Rodgers, I'm going to say it's because of what Flynn did in the last week of the season. You've got voters who think anybody can step into the Packers system and do that.
Yeah, that was some game against Detroit, but you can't overlook what Rodgers did either. So.
No, he's my pick as well, Kenny.
Yeah, we'll see. Again, I wouldn't be surprised no matter which of those two guys wins it. And, Brady, like you said, put up incredible numbers, as did Eli Manning and a couple of others.
It's going to be an interesting vote.
Hey, Kenny, it's Steve Ferguson. How are you?
Good, Steve.
Kenny, I have a question for you, which I think is a unique question. The AFC's worst defense is going to the Super Bowl, while the NFC teams like the Saints and Packers with defenses that are almost as bad will not. Does that mean that the AFC is that mediocre this year? What's your take on that?
Well, I think there were probably more good teams in the NFC than the AFC, and it's really an interesting question. When you look at the Patriots' defense and their rankings during the regular season, I do think they've shored things up in the playoffs when you look at their play defensively the last couple of weeks. But, there were some pretty high-scoring teams in the NFC, and you really have to give some of those great defenses credit for shutting other teams down. So it will be interesting. We saw San Francisco, one of the top defensive teams in the league, give up 32 points in a playoff game, yet still win against New Orleans, and then lose a lower scoring game against the Giants. So great question, and we'll have to see what happens a week from Sunday.
Yeah, maybe it's the Belichick factor. I mean, he seems to be able to do it with whatever kind of team he has. He gets them to the big dance more often than not.
He really does. He makes great adjustments, and you look at all of the great teams that he's had, and obviously some great defenses, and Tom Brady leading the way offensively as well. So doing a little bit differently this year.
That's for sure.
I agree with that. I think, I've never seen a more ready team for when the Patriots played the Denver Broncos early on in the playoffs.
They were amazing.
Kenny, this is Sean Roman. Since 2004, Eli Manning has put together quite a resume. I think he's been to the playoffs 5 times. Last year didn't make it. He went 10-6. This year 9-7. He's in the Super Bowl. He now has the record for most road wins of any quarterback in NFL history. Threw for almost 5,000 yards. This year, though, was the first year that Peyton Manning was not playing and Eli Manning was playing. Do you think that aspect affected Eli Manning's play at all, or the media's perception of his play?
I don't think so. I've heard that mentioned, but these guys are so focused. Once they get out there on the field, on the practice field, on the game fields on Sunday and Monday, I don't think that had an effect. I just think it's the evolution of Eli as a quarterback, and we saw what he was able to do during that great postseason run following the 2007 season, and hadn't won a playoff game since then. Did get there in 2008 and missed the last 2 years, but just had a fantastic season. And I think some of it has to do with the fact that he worked out with his receivers during the lockout. He arranged those camps over at Hoboken High School, and chemistry-wise, got to know Victor Cruz and worked with Hakeem Nicks and Mario Manningham. It's ironic when we think back to August, right after the lockout, so many people who follow the Giants were so upset about the losses of Steve Smith and Kevin Boss, yet Cruz steps in, and Jake Ballard at tight end, and Bear Pasco with a big touchdown last week.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, they replaced those guys that they lost that were integral members of the team for the last 3 or 4 years.
That's true. If you're a GM right now, who do you take, Eli or Peyton, if you had the choice?
Wow.
Well, I think, the biggest factor regarding that question is the health of Peyton. Nobody really knows, A, whether he'll play again, and B, if he does play, how many more years he will play and how effective he will be. So it's kind of an unfair question only because of what happened with Peyton health-wise over the last year.
Well, Kenny, we let you off the hook back in September, but you're not going to get off that easy this time. I need your prediction. Giants or Patriots? Who's going to win the Super Bowl?
Well, as you guys know, I try to stay away from predictions. First of all, I'm never right. If I knew who was going to win the game, they wouldn't have to play. So I just hope it's a great game. I thought that Green Bay and New Orleans would be playing in the NFC Championship game prior to the divisional weekend, so if anybody tells you they have any clue who's going to win, I think they're a little crazy.
Well, who do you like, Kenny? If you had to lean one way or the other, who do you like as a fan?
Does it even matter who I like?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, it does.
I'm telling you, I'm 100% never right. Isn't even worth it.
He's being Switzerland. He's going to be neutral.
Yeah, he is.
Well, let's just hope it's a really exciting, close game. I think we all can agree on that.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, he's Kenny Albert of Fox Sports. Great jobs calling games this season, Kenny, and we really appreciate you talking the Super Bowl with us for a few
Very
minutes
much.
tonight.
Thanks, Kenny.
problem.
Thank you, Kenny.
Thanks so much. Well, guys, we got Kenny's prediction, and now it's time for ours. Steve, lead off. I need to know who's going to win the Super Bowl, what the score is, and who is the MVP.
Well, I think that the Giants are going to find a way to win this game. I think it's going to be a little more high scoring than that first one we saw. I'm thinking 30-27.
Okay.
Giants. MVP, good question. It might be Ahmad Bradshaw. I'm thinking it could be him because
Interesting.
everybody's looking at the Giants' passing game, but he's such an important part of what they do offensively. If he's able to run really well against a pretty weak defense, I think he might be the guy.
I think Kenny's absolutely right. There's no way to predict this game.
No.
It's a coin flip. If you're right, it's not because you're any type of football genius. It's because you had a 50% chance of choosing the right team. As a Giant fan, though, the last thing I'm ever going to do is say the Patriots are going to win.
That's right.
But I hope some of you guys do say it, because if we're all in agreement that the Giants are going to win, I'm already chalking the win up to the Patriots right now. 21-17 Giants.
Who's your game MVP?
Eli
Sean?
Manning.
Okay.
Hey.
Well, it looks like there may be a consensus here. I'm going Giants, 27-24. I'm going Eli with game MVP. You know, little side note, guys. This will be the third quarterback rematch in Super Bowl history. Both of the previous matchups, Bradshaw versus Staubach and Aikman versus Kelly, the winner of the first matchup also won the second.
Well, it is a consensus, I'm sorry to say, but you're not going to get me picking the Patriots.
hell no.
I'm the
We
last
know you're
person
not.
that's going to do that. So I'm going Giants. I'm going a one-point game, a 24-23 on a last-second field goal.
Really?
Yep, Lawrence Tynes is going to do it again. And I also have to give game MVP to Eli Manning.
You know what?
So,
Hey,
I think all this
That would be an
optimism and
exciting
wishful
thing.
thinking maybe will make it happen, right?
I'm hoping so.
I'll
As a
tell
Jet
you.
fan, I'm hoping so
You know
too.
what?
I can't stand that team.
How does a 9-7 team? How are they so almost a pick 'em against a team that's dominated, had home field advantage?
That's why they play the games,
That
mister.
is
What I
correct.
said, Sean, the Patriots, their 13 wins did not come against a team that had a winning record. They lose to the Giants in the regular season. Giants had a winning record. So, and honestly,
And the Giants have beat some quality teams.
I
And
don't.
the Packers,
one-
15-1.
One of their guys said it. I
Absolutely.
don't remember which one of their leaders said it, but they said the last time they played the Patriots in the Super Bowl in 2007, they thought maybe they had a chance to win, but they weren't sure. I mean, the Patriots 18-0. I mean, the Patriots
Offensive
were running
record.
roughshod on everybody. They
Yeah.
scared the crap out of every team they played.
Sure.
Yes, they did.
This year, the Giants come in believing they can win.
No
they
question
will
about it.
win.
It's true.
They have confidence. They don't believe. They're not scared of the Patriots like they were in
They
2007.
match up. I think they match up with
Yeah.
the Patriots just as well, if not better than they would with the Ravens.
And Eli's improved so much from
Oh,
since
yeah.
2007. It's amazing.
I mean, if you think about how far Eli has even come.
Oh yeah.
Remember, back then, Tiki Barber, their team, whatever. It's his team now.
It's true, but I got to cut you guys off because it is time for
Is
our
it?
3-minute warning.
Yes, it is.
Sean, lead off, please.
Hey, football fans, if you were starting a team next year and could choose either Eli Manning or Peyton Manning to pilot your team, who are you going to pick? For the first time ever, Eli may get your majority vote. Eli now has a Super Bowl MVP. He threw for about 5,000 yards this season, and he now has the most playoff road wins of any quarterback in history. Fans at large are starting to realize the Giants were quite fortunate when back on draft day in 2004, Eli Manning told San Diego he really didn't want to play there. And a trade was worked out, finagled, for Phillip Rivers. Forgotten is that iconic Giants owner, Wellington Mara, shortly before he died in 2005, was absolutely insistent that the Giants get their man. Manning had put up huge numbers for Ole Miss, and just as importantly for Ole Wellington, he showed that he was a quality citizen off the field. Wellington even guaranteed that with Manning, the Giants would win multiple Super Bowls. Few believe this until just about right now.
Mike, I'd like to tan your hide Tannenbaum. Remember all the chatter about the Jets winning a Super Bowl this year with that in-your-face arrogance from Rex Ryan and that nasty HBO show featuring Gang Green at their chaotic best? They followed that up with a dreadful season not even making the playoffs. Now the media vultures are out for Mark Sanchez's head, looking everywhere for a savior quarterback, while Santonio Holmes' churlish behavior was on full display. No wonder LaDainian Tomlinson spoke about the worst stench from any locker room he's ever been in. Even owner Woody Johnson mildly agreed they need to get unified as a team, and Ryan now says he'll cool the rhetoric. But where has GM Mike Tannenbaum been during this mess? He's hiding behind horrific decisions like letting Thomas Jones and Jericho Cotchery go while failing to assemble any kind of decent offensive line. No wonder this team lacks in leadership and character. That starts with the man pulling the trigger in the draft and in free agency. Just ask Giants fans. They have Jerry Reese, while we're stuck with this idiot.
Success without honor is an unseasoned dish. It will satisfy your hunger, but it won't taste good. The author of that quote was Joseph Vincent Paterno, who was part of his speech at Penn State's commencement exercises in June of 1973. A lot has happened since then. With the scandal that ended his career still so fresh in our minds, it would be easy to say that Paterno didn't practice what he preached. But is it fair to judge a man's life by his greatest success or his greatest failure? A life is a lot more than just its highest high or its lowest low. Better to judge that life by how it impacted others. By that scale, Joe Paterno was a good man who lived a good life. He turned countless boys into good men. He gave millions of dollars to his beloved Penn State. He gave his heart and soul to its football team, a team and a university he never wanted to leave. Brent Musburger once asked Paterno the real reason he kept putting off retirement, and Joe Pa told him that he was concerned about falling victim to the same fate as Bear Bryant, the legendary Alabama coach who passed away 40 days after coaching his last game. Paterno lasted 85 days. The medical report will read that Joe Paterno died of complications from his battle with lung cancer. Todd Blackledge and Matt Millen, two of Paterno's former players, both believe their coach died of a broken heart. I can't honestly say they're wrong.
Epic fail. That's the best way to describe the final minute of the AFC Championship game for the Baltimore Ravens. They drove the ball downfield with a real chance to win or tie. The Patriots looked mortal and beatable, and the Ravens' fate was in their own hands. But as we all witnessed, they blew it. First, Baltimore's Lee Evans lets New England's Sterling Moore knock the ball out of his hands in the end zone. The catch would have given the Ravens the lead and all but sealed their victory. Moore deserves credit for making an incredible defensive play, but Evans should have held on to the ball tighter. I actually thought it was a call close enough to merit a look by the replay officials, but apparently they begged to differ. Then 2 plays later, Billy Cundiff misses a 32-yard field goal that would have tied the game and sent it to overtime. I'm sorry, but part of the blame has to go to Coach John Harbaugh. How do you not call a timeout before the field goal attempt to let your kicking team get ready? It almost seemed like Cundiff was anticipating this would be a practice kick of sorts because his coach was going to call a timeout. You should never go into the locker room after a close loss with a timeout remaining. The whole sequence went by so fast it left me shocked and dumbfounded. This was a devastating loss for the Ravens. Bouncing back from it will not be easy. For Jay Kaplan, Steve Ferguson, and Sean Roman, I'm Nisa Petrilli. Thanks for spending part of your evening with us. We'll see you on February 9th for another edition of On the Sportslines. Remember, if you want to see this show again or catch up on any of the ones you might have missed, check us out at youtube.com/onthesportslines. And check out our blog at onthesportslines.blogspot.com. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everyone.
Enjoy the Super Bowl.
Night.
Go Giants!